Good day everyone, so in my previous C0 Nilou video I told you that this team of Nehida, Nilou, Kokomi and Collei is the most meta Nilou team that you can put together, and in this video I will sort of go through the mechanics of why this is the case. We will also additionally look at a common criticism that Kokomi has gotten, and that's the fact that you can't reposition her jellyfish, which is honestly just a bit of a lack of practical game sense that a lot of people face. Never mind the fact that Kokomi here also has the sacrificial fragment, so repositioning is also kind of easy. But nonetheless, so how does this team work, and what's the point of using Collei, and in fact, why not just use Xingshu and Yao Yao instead of Kokomi and Collei? Well, this is where things get very interesting. So with this Nilou team, the obvious way in which you play is you first set up with all your E abilities, and then you use your elemental burst to not only apply dendro or hydro, but to tank all of the bountiful core damage. So this is one of the things that you can do very effectively. But there's something else, something very subtle that also goes on. So let's just sort of kick it off here in the background. So as you can see, we start here with Nehida, and then we go here with Nilou, and now we're going to sort of use Collei, and we're going to use her boomerang. So what her boomerang is going to do is obviously apply dendro. It's going to come back, you're going to get the floral ring, it's going to zip around your active character, and if you sort of trigger explosions, you extend it and you continuously apply dendro. So a lot of people kind of get that, but why is that important? Well, here's the thing. Nilou and Kokomi can very easily on their own overtake Nehida's dendro application if Nehida is not the active character on the field applying dendro. So this is very important. By having Collei on the field, you can ensure that you have a higher uptime on your dendro aura, and this means that your hydro units are gonna be the ones that will consistently have bloom ownership and hence trigger the bountiful core damage. So this is like really important, because this means that you can focus on building out your EM for your Kokomi, and also it means that the amount of dendro cores that you can put onto the field will be maximized. We know that if an enemy has a dendro aura on them and you hit them with hydro, you can maximize the dendro core production than if it were the other way around. So it's very important to try and keep a dendro aura onto these enemies as much as possible, because that's what's going to lead you to getting the most of these bountiful cores. And it's just the other thing here is that because you're not really using normal attacks or you're having Yao Yao on the field, you actually have much more flexibility because you're just cycling through these characters on an off-field basis. So the amount of dendro core damage you're taking is also minimal. So it's all about continuously understanding where you need to apply dendro, how you need to position, and then just cycling through these cooldowns in a very planned manner. This is precisely what makes this team so good, and it cannot function without Collei. So right here you can see I'm going to now swap to Kokomi. I'm going to sort of hit the enemy, and you can see already the entire dendro and hydro application just gone from this character. In fact, you'll see here the dendro, if you just sort of caught that, we first had a bit of like hydro here, and then obviously Nehida and the combination of Collei ensured, nope, you know, we're going to go back to ensuring that dendro is onto the enemy. And then here is Kokomi, and she just instantly ate up that sort of dendro aura, and you'll see there's going to be like a hydro aura onto this enemy right now. So even with the combination of Collei's floral ring, the elemental burst, Nehida's E ability, you can so easily take the dendro away with these hydro units, especially with Kokomi. And it begs then the question, do you need Xingshu for hydro application when this character can do so much? And we haven't even used her C1 in any sort of capacity and so on. So it's really important to do a step-by-step breakdown and understand exactly what these field effects are. Never mind the fact that Nehida is at talent level 13, which means that the triggering interval for her dendro is also pretty much as low as you can get. I think it's like 1.9 seconds. So this is pretty insane if you think about it. The combination of Nilou and Kokomi is just so good. And well, yeah, we're just going to sort of then passively take care of the enemies. We iframe, we get healed up for the next wave, we tag the enemies, and look at that. Despite the fact that We've had a lot of bountiful core explosions. None of my team members here are even damaged. The enemies are going to come in. If they had to attack us, it doesn't matter. We can iframe there. Here's Collei. Collei is going to take a bit of damage, doesn't matter. The jellyfish will just heal us up. And of course, these two enemies are kind of really annoying, so we just used a combination of Collei's floral ring, as you can see, her elemental burst and Nahida, and then you'll just sort of take care of these guys. Pretty simple. So with the first chamber done, let's go to the second one. Now this group of enemies right here is precisely why I want to sort of show you the power of Kokomis like jellyfish and the fact that it's like kind of static and so on. So if you haven't seen our Spiral Abyss videos in I think December, November last year, where we had a similar sort of like setup with enemies, the best way to sort of play with them is to just quickly tag them here with Nahida, Kokomi, and then run towards this enemy with the big like spear or whatever. And the reason is you want to sort of trigger the aggro on him, otherwise he's just gonna sort of run through into, I don't know, Narnia. So this sort of play and setup is very kind of like deliberate. But in any case, so you sort of do this as a very basic setup, but notice what happens. If Kokomi's jellyfish had followed us, like Nilou's ring had followed us, then we would not be able to really trigger Hydro onto this enemy right here at the back. So you'll notice that our ring does not touch this enemy, but this hit here is from the jellyfish. So the jellyfish, by being static, can still sort of take or help apply dendro core, bountiful cores onto these enemies, even though we are not there to directly apply Hydro. So this is one of the big benefits of having that static jellyfish, and that's just like so good, because it means that the breakpoints that are needed will be like a lot lower for you to sort of take care of the enemies. And then you don't really want to be in a position where you take out all of the enemies, but then there's this one enemy left and now you have to waste your other abilities just to sort of like take care of him, which is like a very big benefit. Here's the other thing that I'm going to do now with Kokomi. So I'm going to put my jellyfish more or less right here in the middle. I'm going to sprint to this enemy. Once again, if you don't sprint to this enemy and you go to the other enemies, then this guy will have a tendency to like stand still and then attack you from range. But because you sort of trigger the aggro onto him, he'll be more inclined to move after you sort of like hit him afterwards. You'll see what I mean in just a moment. So we tag all the enemies, and now obviously it's just a bit of a setup phase. I frame all the damage we need to, and now we can just run sort of here. And here's the beautiful thing: this enemy will that we were just at will start moving towards the middle. But notice what else is happening here. Because Kokomi's jellyfish is ticking, so this is a jellyfish tick, you can see it hit the enemy right there. It kind of hit all of them. We still triggered a bountiful core at this enemy's like new position right here. And the cool thing is, because we triggered this, we could in theory have also hit him with Nilou's ring and then had another follow-up bountiful core hit him as well. But it's just this concept that you've got the jellyfish being static, applying damage where you are not at. And this is just what makes Kokomi so amazing. If this were Shingshu, well, my auto-targeting would probably target the guy in the middle and I would have zero Hydro being applied to this enemy. The only way I would be able to apply Hydro is if I used a charged or a breakthrough barb shot with Yelan, or just did a bit of a quick zip around with Yelan's E ability. Once again, just really sort of showing you how you can use Kokomi's kit to its fullest. And obviously, now that we're here in the middle, we just use Collei. We're going to maximize our dendro application onto the enemies. We've got the jellyfish, the ring, and now obviously Kokomi's elemental burst, really maximizing the dendro core production. You can see here there's really no gauge here on the enemy, and that's just because all of this Hydro is just evaporated the dendro that we've had onto the enemies. But nonetheless, you can see here now all of these enemies are pretty much taken care of. With the addition of Collei and Nahida, we can also then take care of this enemy, and there we go. It's pretty much game, set, match. So hopefully you guys can now really start understanding the mechanics behind this team and how it sort of fits or sort of comes together. It's the fact that out of all the Nilou teams, you can more consistently maximize dendro core production, as well as have a team that you can just cycle your E abilities and then your elemental burst and then your E abilities, then your elemental burst in such a way such that you also effectively take the minimal amount of dendro core damage, and the damage that you do take, well, Kokomi, because you're cycling through all of your units, will also heal them as you sort of like cycle through them. And obviously you've got Nilou here to also help provide against like a massive enemy attack. So if an enemy did 60,000k worth of damage, you can always just swap to Nilou and just literally tank it out. But yeah guys, that has been it for this video. Hopefully you sort of really start to understand why this team is so good and why Collei herself is absolutely critical in ensuring that bloom ownership mostly falls just to your hydro units. I cannot understate like how important Collei is, and it's not the fact that her elemental burst does not apply enough dendro or whatever, it's the combination of her E and her elemental burst and how it can help Nahida continuously proc her E that is essentially the key to making this team so strong. Alright, that's it from my side. Thanks for watching. Cheers.